What's up guys, Chrisspy here. Let's do this thing. I'm starting out by covering my brows with a glue stick. This is totally optional, especially if you're not comfortable doing it. It can look totally fine if you just cover the brows with paint. I use the spoolie and the glue stick to stick the brows really flat to the skin. Then I go over with some translucent powder and an orange powder to help keep the brows from showing through. Next, I'm taking a thin eyeliner brush and some black paint from Marilyn, and I'm going to start outlining the dark areas of the skulls. So I'm starting on the eye sockets, and I actually took it higher on the outside of the brows so it looked like a real little angry skull. And this is really just like a rough draft. It doesn't need to be perfect. Later, we're going to go in with paint and eyeshadow and really see what shape we want. And I'm doing the same thing on the nose, just outlining it, bringing it wider where the nostrils are, and then bringing it to 2 points in the center of the nose. I'm doing the same thing over on my cheeks, and I'm even kind of using my finger to see where my bones actually are to see where I want to put those lines. And I'm just doing them really lightly so that we have a guide for later on. Next, what I'm doing is filling in the skull with some white paint, and I'm diluting it with water because it's not too bright white, and just filling in those areas. You're going to want to make sure that you apply this to clean skin. The only thing that I would recommend for underneath this paint would be an oil-free moisturizer or an oil-free foundation primer. Now I'm taking a medium-sized flat brush and some black paint, and I'm filling in the eyes. Originally I was going to fill them in completely black, but then once I saw how the gradient looked like halfway through, I decided it would be kind of cool to add some depth and leave it a little bit more empty in the middle. For the shading on the eyes, I realized it was way easier to just shade with a black eyeshadow as opposed to the paint. So I would kind of use the paint for the parts that you want really, really dark, and the shading, use a matte black eyeshadow because it'll just save you so much time. So yeah, once I started shading it in with the eyeshadow, I went with the black and filled it in. Then I took a black gel liner, and you're going to want to fill in the waterline on the top and bottom, and just make sure that there's no skin tone peeking through. And then next I took an eyeshadow and just smudged that all out. For the nose, I went right in with the eyeshadow and started shading the outside areas of the nose and kind of leaving it a little bit more blank in the center for a little nose highlight and also some dimension. And then once it was all shaded, I went in with a smaller brush and the paint to just kind of give it that nice dark line. Next, we're moving on to the cheekbones. I'm using black eyeshadow to fill in that area by my ear so that it looks finished. I didn't want to leave that area blank. And then with the black eyeshadow, I am starting to shade. I'm using a flat brush and I'm really laying it flat to the skin, and I'm pulling that eyeshadow down, concentrating most of the color where it meets the white so that it has that really nice shaded look. I continued to shade, and I wanted it to be really, really black where those two bones meet so that it balances with the eyes, and then I'm leaving it kind of open where the teeth are gonna go. Okay, so the teeth are the trickiest part of the skull, but if you nail them, your skull looks so bomb, and that's what we're about to do. I'm going to show you guys exactly how to nail these bad boys. So I'm taking a concealer brush and I'm putting a lot of paint on the brush, and I'm just dragging those teeth over my lips and then lifting it off the skin where I want it to look like they kind of fade out. For the molars, I kind of dotted it on and I wiped off the brush because I had too much paint. Then I'm just going and using a really light touch, I'm pulling that paint upwards. Like where I want it to be brighter, I'm putting more pressure on the skin, and where I want it to be light, I'm using a light touch. Then I went in for a second pass with the white paint and just kind of did the same thing, going over everything to make it a little bit brighter. Next, I'm taking black eyeshadow and I'm shading in between the teeth and kind of letting it taper off as it goes down. And then I'm also adding a black line in between the teeth to the corner of my mouth. I went back in with the small eyeshadow brush and the black eyeshadow and I shaded it again, and I was just doing this to make the lines a lot darker. And why did I do it twice? I don't know. I probably could have just done it once, but this is how I did it. Okay, so this next step is where the teeth really come together. Basically what you're going to want to do is kind of make like a little dot or almost like a little Y, like I'm doing right here. And then you're going to want to bring the shading out and up. Also, side note, my teeth somehow came out like curved to the shape of my lips. I almost wish that I did them straight up and down. I feel like it still works, but yeah, you do not have to curve the teeth. That just happened on its own. So this is the most time-consuming step. I really went through, took my time, and added that black shadow there so that it makes it look like the teeth are going down to meet the jawbone. Then with barely any eyeshadow on the brush, I went over really lightly where I made those little dots. Next, we're going to shade the cheekbone. I'm going right next to that line that I created with a small eyeshadow brush and just shading it lightly. I took a slightly bigger eyeshadow brush and I created a little divot for the temple, and then I also began to pull that eyeshadow up. And then again, I'm deepening the black at the edge of the line to really create that illusion of depth. And I did the same thing down on the cheekbone so that it looks like there's like a sharp ridge right there for the bone. And then we're basically doing the same thing over here. First I shade it really lightly with the eyeshadow, and then I go back in and deepen it to create that definition. Next, I took a larger size fluffy brush and added some black eyeshadow to the chin and also along the hairline. I also pulled that eyeshadow down in the center of the skull really lightly. And then also what I did was shaded on the outside of the eye sockets around where the brow bone is. To add some expression, I'm taking a small eyeshadow brush and creating two little lines upwards as if like the brows are furrowed, V angry. And if you wanted it to be really scary, you could make these lines super dark and shade underneath, but I was like, I just want to be like a little angry but not super angry, catch my drift. And then I went in and deepened the shading on the forehead and I was all done. So I curled my hair Marilyn Monroe style, threw on a blazer, and now my costume is complete. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, give me a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.